everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Sharing is Caring, your go-to podcast for insightful conversations and stories that light up your day. I'm Blue, your AI host, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us. Today, we have a very special episode that you won't want to miss. We're joined by M16 from the Radio Show ATL, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. M16 is here to share some fascinating insights into the world of hip-hop, from its rich history to its current trends, and even a little taste of food and film discussions from a unique perspective. If you're someone who appreciates deep dives into culture, community, and creativity, this episode is tailor-made for you. M16 brings a fresh voice from the Black community, offering perspectives that are as enlightening as they are entertaining. And don't forget, if you love what you hear, make sure to subscribe and like our podcast. Your support helps us keep bringing you these amazing stories and voices from around the world. A big thank you to all our faithful listeners for tuning in. You are the reason we do what we do. So without further ado, let's jump right into our conversation with M16. Trust us, you'll want to hear every minute of this engaging discussion.
Okay, so let's go. Hi, M16. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
Where is it that you're calling from?
Atlanta, Georgia. We're in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, wow, that's quite a long way from here in Europe. So, yeah, how about you introduce yourself and tell our listeners what you do.
Oh yeah, sure, no problem. So I'm M16. I'm one of the 6 hosts of a show called the Radio Show ATL. I'm responsible for a lot of the well, aside from being an on-air personality with the show, I'm also responsible for a lot of the like social media graphics, things of that nature. So I handle that part of it. Our show is essentially a hip hop variety show where we delve into the history of hip hop, current hip hop state of music, current events. We talk about food. We have a food review segment where one of our hosts, Cujo, will review like an abstract or an upcoming snack or food product. And then we also talk about movies, but a lot of it is just us giving our take from the Black perspective for the Black community. But our show is, we're all inclusive. So race, color, creed, it doesn't matter to us. If you're a cool person, you can come hang out with us. But we do like to focus in on the things that are going on in the Black community. So that's really the basis of the show.
So cool. Really appreciate that. Yeah, it's good to hear that perspective. It's often not heard. So yeah, I guess it's part of our mission too to make everyone's voice heard. So we're doing that right now. So
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So as you know, we are a food-focused podcast. What kind of food story can you tell me from ATL?
I mean, it's so many. I would say, I would say the biggest thing here is that it's not just diversity when it comes to hip hop, but here for Atlanta, it's diversity when it comes to, I guess, the style or the cuisine that you're looking for. Because if you're someone who's looking for, let's say you want Chinese food or Thai food or Mediterranean, you can find any type of restaurant with any type of cuisine that you want in this particular city, because it's so many people coming from different places who either come here to live or visit. And it's really just a Google search away from finding exactly what you want when it comes to the food category. So like I said, it just depends on what you're into, but you could be into whatever and find somewhere that's good. You can get information on that because somebody either someone or someone that knows somebody that has been to whatever place you can consider. So if you're considering anything, somebody has some type of information on whether you should try it or not, what's the main dish, what's the best thing to try, even to what the traffic is like. So you can get the information that you need with that. But it ties in. Music and food tie in because they just do. There's this place here that you can get pizza from. It's called Slim and Huskies. And Slim and Huskies has like this hip hop feel to it where they're playing a lot of 90s and 2000s hip hop inside of the place. There's graffiti on the walls. it's like real. It gives you that real hip hop centric feel to it. I can say I feel really at home in there when I go in there. So it's a lot of places like that give you that authentic feel of that.
Okay, that's super nice. We had a quick chat before, and you made this parallel before on food and music, and the way that the diversity in food in ATL was reflected in music. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, because like one of the main things you can talk about, hip hop, the core of hip hop is to speak about the struggle. And the way it ties in is that you would talk about, like, for instance, are you a fan of the Wu-Tang Clan? You know about the Wu-Tang Clan?
Of course, yeah.
All right.
I'm definitely not as expert as you. The main bands are, yeah, of course.
Okay. So a song in particular that I could tell you about from the Wu-Tang Clan, one of their members, Ghostface Killer, has this song called All I Got Is You. And in the song, he's talking about how how he's growing up and how he had to beg and borrow for food and how there were like roaches and bugs inside of his cereal box and things like that. But then you see the evolution as he became a bigger star. He talked less about the struggle of what food was and the things that he was eating as his money got better. So you saw the different trend where it went from, hey, I'm having to beg people for food, and now I'm eating, gourmet meals at big restaurants. So it ties in to let people know sometimes about your status. Not saying that all of your status is focused in on food, but you see the evolution of, man, I had to beg and borrow for scraps, and now I'm eating this 5-course meal because I'm doing better with myself. So that's where you see the evolution of it when it involves hip hop and storytelling, where it starts, at the lowest point, and then you see it evolve into the higher point. So that's a tie-in to definitely where you have food and music kind of merging together.
I definitely agree. I love to pay attention to artists and what they eat and where they go for food. And I think it kind of joined what you said with Drake, for example. He's always talking about Nobu and super expensive places and things like that. So I guess the fact that the audience is receptive to this kind of know those kind of names, also show the evolution of maybe Black communities as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's super nice to hear. One song also that kind of struck me was Taco Tuesday from Migos. And of course, I know Migos, but I'm not an expert on Migos. This is amazing that taco is a Mexican dish, and and Migos also, they have this Spanish vibe, the name is Spanish, etc. And the fact that they make a song out of it, that their name is Spanish, really shows the diversity of their interactions. And I think that's something that was not really existent in hip hop before. It was kind of US centric and maybe not as it didn't have that much of a Latino vibe as it has today. Maybe what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's evolved. And I was going to say, it's also even probably an even more simpler explanation is the fact that, can we just say that tacos are delicious? It doesn't matter where you come from, where you're at. Tacos are delicious. So if you're going to make a song about a delicious food, somebody's going to take a listen to it or focused around it. But, again, back to what I was saying before is that the reason why they tie in so well together is because music in general, but hip hop in particular, is very subjective. If you watch our show, you'll see that we all have different tastes in who we like in music. And it's the same thing with food. It sparks debate. It sparks conversation. It brings out passion. And that's the big thing. People are passionate about the artists that they like, but people are also passionate about the food that they eat. And they take it personal because it's something that they're using to nourish their body. They like what it tastes like. And they're going to debate it with you. You could say that you don't like it, but it's not going to take somebody away from what their favorite food is. Like if you're someone who likes to eat oranges and I don't like oranges or something like that, it's not going to stop you from eating oranges because you like them. You say that's your opinion. If you don't like them, you don't eat them. But I'm going to continue to do that. And it's the same thing with hip hop. You might like an artist. I might not necessarily like their music. That's not going to stop you from listening to them. You're just going to say, look, just skip over them in your playlist. I'm going to continue to listen to them. So it's more about putting your stamp and personality on what you like and what you feel. It's individuality, which is a big part of hip hop, but it's also a big part of being someone who is into food. It's you can share with other people, but it's individually, it's still about what you like.
I definitely agree. Now that we are on that topic, let me try to corner you. Do you think it's harder to lie on music or to lie on food? So basically, do you think, yeah, people are 100% honest with food, or yeah, or more honest with food, or more honest with music?
I feel like people are more honest with food because in hip hop, a lot of a lot of that stuff that people talk about, it's not real. It's theatrics, it's embellishing, um, it's people taking things that they've heard and kind of putting their spin on it. I've said before on the show that there's nobody who's gonna basically confess to crimes on a record. So just kind of take that for what it is. Food is food. If it's good, you're gonna know it, and if it's bad, you're gonna know it. There's no gray area in there. It's either great or it's not great. So I would say that the honesty comes more from food because hip hop can have some. We can have a little bit of embellishment going on when it comes to music.
Definitely agree. And how about for the from the point of view of the listener? Do you think, yeah, we listen to whatever we listen because it's really what we are, or are we somehow influenced? And the same question for food. Like, do you think we eat what we eat because we're influenced by, society norms and whatever, or is it because of what we are?
I think both can be influenced because I say a good example when it comes to food is there are several there are restaurants that are open, I'll say in Atlanta all the time. And not too long ago, I went to one that was like brand new and it's like the big hot thing where everybody's talking about it and you're reading blog reviews and stuff like that. And then I went to this restaurant and it wasn't very good. The service wasn't good and the food wasn't good. So but it was influenced by what people were talking about. And it's the same thing with hip hop music is that if someone's number one in hip hop is because the people made it that way. So if you're not a fan of someone who's number one, human curiosity will say, well, let me go take a listen and see what the big deal is about. And it's the same thing with a restaurant where when people are talking and there's a buzz going on, you want to see what that is. So I would say that it's for both, that it's influenced by what people are saying and how people are talking about it. So I would say it influences both.
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint one or the other. So yeah, definitely agree. In general.
As far as speaking about food or like in song, that part's never gonna go away. When it comes to music, because people, like you mentioned Drake, like people use food as status in hip hop, where I spoke about Ghostface Killer before, where he's talking about how poor he was and what he was forced to eat versus when you start making money and you start eating the gourmet, steak, and you eating shrimp and all this other stuff that some people can't even pronounce, it changes. So yes, it's definitely sustainable because people are always, when it comes to music, gonna take food and tie it in as status. And in hip hop, the way things are today, it's all about status. So the more educated you sound on food and the more, I guess, eccentric things that you're eating, the more diverse you sound to people. So it's sustainable. It's never going anywhere. They're both going to be tied to each other forever. As long as hip hop exists, that part of it with food is going to exist.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much for your enlightenment on that question.
Yes.
Next question, maybe more casual. What is it that you're listening these days?
What am I listening to? Well, let's see. This one group, I'm not sure if you probably have heard of them. It's this group called The Internet. They're like they're like an alternative sort of R&B band, hip hop fused. They hadn't come out with anything recently, but their stuff is so good that I just get in a mode where I like to listen to them. I'm also a huge fan of, even though live in the South, I'm a huge fan of West Coast hip hop. So I'm listening to a lot of Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre. Those guys are always on repeat for me. So that's really pretty much what I'm listening to right now is doing a lot of West Coast hip hop and listening to The Internet as well.
Okay, I'm a big fan of Lemonade, I think, from the internet.
Yes.
This one is so good. And then bouncing back on the West Coast, if I tell you barbecue every day, driving fancy cars, we're saying that?
Yes. Yes, barbecue all day, driving fancy cars. Yes, that's Dr. Dre. So still DRE. All right. So you know exactly
Yes.
where I'm coming from.
Yes, yes, yeah. Food is always there, and as you said, it's status, and yeah, that's when you made it. That's what you should do. Okay, and what is it that you like to eat these days?
Well,
Are you more a
I
cooking person or a restaurant person?
I you know, I'm biased to both, but I like cooking. One of my favorite things to cook is I have this dish that I saute chicken, add a little bit of lime juice, and then I got my little special blend of like spices and herbs and things of that nature that I use in there, and it's served over rice, usually with a vegetable. Sometimes it's corn, sometimes it could be string beans. It just depends on what the mood is. Um, yeah, it's something that I just like. It's it doesn't cost that much to prepare it, but it tastes like a really, really expensive meal, but it doesn't cost that much to prepare it. I also like a good bit of like, I guess, Tex-Mex. So we were talking about it. So tacos, quesadillas. I like chips and salsa. It gives a festive feel to it. Like when I'm eating foods like that, I'm happy because it feels festive. So that's what I'm into right now.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. Uh, we come to the last question. Any advice from the top of your career as a radio host and hip hop listeners and food enthusiast? What advice would you, and movie enthusiast, sorry, I forgot this one. What advice would you give to our listeners?
Well, the first thing I would say was that if you're someone, well, I'll start with like music artists. If you're a hip hop artist or a musical artist, the first thing I would tell you to do, if that's what you decide that you want to do, is study the craft, study the greats, study everybody. So it could be somebody that you don't really like or somebody that you do like. Study everything, learn everything you can about it. Learn the trends, just pay attention to what people are doing and sort of put your spin on it. Borrow it and make it yours. So that's the best thing I would say. And then also, if you're an artist, write every day. If you're someone who wants to be an artist, you need to hone your craft daily. Set aside some time to write lyrics every day. All right. If you're a radio host, some of that ties in as well. If you're someone who's considering doing a podcast or a radio show, stop talking about it. Go and do it. There's so many different platforms that you can get on to do that type of thing. Find a genre or a niche that you feel like you're an expert in. And again, learn everything you can, borrow some of it and make it your own. That's the best thing I could tell people. And just be consistent. Drop as much as you can consistently to keep your name out there. So that's the best thing I could tell people on both sides of that.
Okay, let me bounce back on that and try again. Practice, practice, practice. Make
Yes.
perfect. Nigga, it's never too late. We're saying that.
Yes, that's correct.
We're saying that.
Let's see. Practice, practice, practice. Okay. You testing my skills here with the lyrics. I think
It's super hard. Yeah, I know.
I think you got me on this one. We're gonna have to document this. I'm about to tell my co-host somebody got me on lyrics. Who is it?
It was Offset Cloud.
You got me. You got me. That's a feather in your cap. I consider myself an expert. You got me. That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's super hard. Like, it's so much, the music scene is so big, and yeah, it's just impossible to. I'm happy you said things that I knew, like you said Wu-Tang and and Tupac and Dre, but
Yes.
it's so hard to lose me. So it's so easy to lose me. Sorry. So yeah.
Yeah, you got me. That's a good one, man. That's a good one.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That concludes the show. Thank you so much for making time for us. And yeah, it's super nice to talk to people from the other side of the Atlantic. So thank you so much. Really appreciate that. M16.
Oh yeah, I appreciate the time. If anybody wants to follow us on social media, follow us at It's the Radio Show on Instagram. And excuse me, that has all our information where you can find our show on YouTube and also on the podcast providers. Come check us out, man. We have a lot of fun. So, come check us out.
We'll definitely put everything in the show notes.
Nice.
Cool. Thank you so much, Dan.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the invite. Great conversation.
And that's a wrap on today's enriching episode here at Sharing is Caring. A huge thank you to M16 for joining us all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, and for sharing such vibrant insights into the world of hip-hop, the importance of community-focused content, and the delightful world of food and film reviews. It was truly fascinating to learn about the diverse aspects of hip-hop culture and the significant role it plays in community building and representation. M16, your contributions to the conversation were incredibly valuable and certainly broadened our horizons. To our wonderful listeners, we hope you found this episode as enlightening as we did. Remember, every voice matters, and sharing diverse perspectives is what makes our community so special and strong. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. We love hearing from you, and your feedback helps us keep improving and bringing more exciting content your way. Also, make sure to share this episode with friends and family who appreciate deep dives into culture and community. Let's keep the conversation going and continue to support voices that bring us together and celebrate our differences. Thank you once again for tuning in. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to bring you more episodes that inspire, entertain, and inform. Until next time, keep caring, keep sharing, and remember, every story shared is a step towards understanding each other better. Sending you all lots of love and positivity. Stay curious, stay connected, and as always, thank you for being a part of our Sharing is Caring family.